And history was made today when the Electoral Commission held an inter-party advisory committee meeting that allowed media to be there covering it live. It was an exceptional moment indeed, getting to see for ourselves how IPAC meetings are conducted. But the subject for the day was one that was very fundamental to the very integrity of the elections that we'll be having this year. Well, we're talking about whether or not to have a forensic audit. And the EC, for the very first time, at least publicly, laid out the evidence of what they've done to try and fix the issues that the National Democratic Congress had raised. And the fundamental question, both sides are pivoting around this word, vindicated. We'll get to that pretty shortly. And just before we come in on air, I've noticed that the NDC, they've issued a statement on their position on the back of what happened today. We'll get to that. It's very conciliatory indeed, and they've accepted a number of the issues that the EC put forth, including the voters register being re-exhibited. That they say they welcome that and they are looking forward to it. The Functional Executive Committee had met on the back of this, and Evans Mensah appears now to be mending the fences that appear to be ruptured on the back of the concerns that the NDC had raised. And it was a historic live indeed, and it's a decision that she's taking. It is going to be her legacy, because after today's IPAC, subsequent IPAC meetings, we will carry it live. That is a very important decision indeed, and my guest will weigh in on how much of that particular decision, how much will it do, what will it do to our democracy? We'll get into that when we sit for a conversation. But there were 12 parties that were in this IPAC meeting today, and it is important to have all of them there because essentially they are fundamental stakeholders. We are too, right? And a number of things that were put before the IPAC meeting today, the voter register credibility and the discrepancies that had been raised. Political parties were expected to make input into this today and call for the re-exhibition of the voters register. The EC has agreed to this, and we know that it will happen. The NDC has indeed welcomed it. The demands were in twofold, and today we got clarity from the NDC's Director of Elections on what they want. They do not only want a forensic audit of the register, but they also want a forensic audit of the ET's IT system. So what is the party saying now on the back of that statement that has been issued? We'll get clarity for you, because I see that a bit of this they believe the EC has dealt with, and so they're looking forward now to receiving the updated register on the back of the corrections that the EC had done. And then, of course, they are asking for something else related to this. We'll get clarity when Dr. Tanko Arashi joins us. And it was interesting at the end of the day, after the presentation by the Electoral Commission, to see where the party stood on the subject of forensic audit. As I said, there were 12 political parties represented today. 10 of them spoke, giving reactions on the back of the EC's presentation. 8 of them were opposed to the forensic audit. In fact, they were in favor of the EC position, backing the EC and making the point that they were convinced, having heard the Electoral Commission's presentation and seen the evidence as to what the Electoral Commission had done in fixing the challenges. Yes, there were challenges. The Electoral Commission admitted to some, but also showed evidence of the work they have done to deal with these challenges. And 8 of them said, having heard that, including the MPP, by the way, they were satisfied. That left the NDC and the PPP, and the both parties said they still had issues. Of course, a forensic audit of the entire IT infrastructure is something the NDC had asked for. 2 of the political parties that were there today didn't speak. They didn't give a reaction to what they saw. But that showed you that the EC had done some work that majority of the parties were happy about, and that has reflected largely in what we've seen in the NDC statement today. Now, we know that there were 38 unsolicited transfers that the EC admitted to today, and they also talked about that they'll provide this list of such cases next week. The party, the NDC, is looking forward to this because obviously for them, this will be subjected again to the same analysis they did that threw up the first issues that they had raised over the period. But we also heard today about additional issues, missing voters. The EC says they must work with the parties to try and fix this. The parties must agree how they do this. Voters placed in wrong polling stations. We also saw accidental duplicates that the EC says will be fixed in this process of trying now to get all the parties at the table to resolve some of the issues. But this process, as specified in law, the EC believes is adequate to fix the issues. Voters transferred, but not on a absent voters list. Applicants wrongly placed on multiple lists is another one that we learned about today. Voters appearing in both PVR and multiple lists. And the EC has said that you find this in previous elections, by the way. And this, they say, isn't necessarily new, including voters appearing in PVR with multiple IDs also. Now, the NDC, as we have now seen, as far as the IPAC meeting is concerned in the register, the EC's resolve is the NDC did not provide evidence of the discrepancies. That's a position that is held. And today we have from Manibama making the point why they are not in a position to provide a full complement of the evidence to the EC because of some issues of trust that he touched on. The register is only provisional and not final, has been the EC's provisional all along, and that a call for an independent forensic audit is premature, and that the EC will indeed re-exhibit the register. The NDC welcomes that particular position, and that the period cleaning process is not complete. It is a process that is currently ongoing that they will look into. But again, you look at the register as it stands now, we are talking about some 17 million in 2020. We are now at 18 million. We're talking about some 10% increase in the voters who have registered for this year's election. So this is significant indeed. 10% is important and to note for the two main parties. But also you have the first-time voters also climbing by 73%. That, for me, is significant. A lot more people are registering to vote. Does that mean we're going to see a high voter turnout this year because of enthusiasm we're beginning to see? That's a drop, by the way, a significant drop there in the first-time voters. And that flips the argument I was making earlier because of, if you look at the first-time voters who registered in 2020 to what you have here, only 700,000, a drop of some 73%. You begin to see when, you know, the second terms or the incumbent parties, you tend to have the situation where there's a bit of apathy. Is that what we're beginning to see here? We'll read a bit more into that, just comparing it to the historical data. My guest will join me for a conversation. Please stay with me as we get into what happened today at the EC, the historic IPAC meeting that we brought to you live here on your election head. Dr. Kojo Asante is the Director of Programs at the CDD. Dr. Tanko Rashid is the Deputy Director of Elections IT at the NDC. Evans Mensah is the Director of Elections and Research with the MPP. And Benjamin Banobio is the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission. And in the last 30 minutes, the NDC, they've issued a statement in response to what we saw today at the IPAC. I want to quickly go through that because that's the very latest on this whole matter. And it reads, following the Special Inter-Party Advisory Committee meeting held today to deliberate on the 2024 Provisional Voters Register, the Functional Executive Committee of the National Democratic Congress deems it fit to restate the following significant admissions by the Electoral Commission. Illegal transfer of voters due to lack of liveliness test technology has occurred in Pusiga and other constituencies. Erroneous addition of previous transfers to the current 2024 transfer list. Presence of corrupted files in the 2024 Provisional Voters Register, which the Commission claims have been rectified and restored. Deleted voters who Commission wishes to place on a missing voters register, and a vulnerable EC IT system that is susceptible to data manipulation and infiltration from officials and non-officials of the Electoral Commission who have access to login credentials. With this background, the Functional Executive Committee of the NDC has deliberated and decided to accept the EC's promise to release to political parties the corrected, updated version of the 2024 Provisional Voters Register for scrutiny within 1 week. Now, FEC further welcomes the decision by the Electoral Commission to re-exhibit the updated Provisional Voters Register. We, however, recommend that the re-exhibition exercise should be conducted online and offline at the exhibition centers, And I note that the word is recommend and not demand. And so at least the NDC recognizes that this is room for some conversation around that. Additionally, the NDC demands, the word has changed here, a multi-stakeholder and inter-party examination of the IT system of the Electoral Commission with the aim of addressing the vulnerabilities that the EC itself has admitted to, which vulnerabilities led to several of the anomalies we have raised. Clearly, the vulnerabilities in the IT system of the Electoral Commission can be exploited by criminals to compromise the integrity of the December 7 elections if not addressed. Doc, what's your reaction to this, Kojo Asante?
Well, good evening. Good evening to your viewers. It was a very good meeting today, I must confess. And I think it was also very timely because this register issue has been dragging on for quite a long time, particularly following the exhibition. So the outcome, and particularly seeing what has come out of the statement from the NDC, shows that a lot has been achieved today. I think the EC preparation for the meeting was important in terms of trying to provide information as to what they have done. A lot of things were presented today that gave me more information than what had been presented in press conferences, for instance. And I think that helped in clarifying certain things, and I probably helped move the conversation forward. And I think even the NDC's response also helped clarify some of its position before, because I think in the conversation before, some of the labeling of the issues sort of put too many things together, and it didn't help us sort of move forward in terms of what can we do now, and what can we move on and address, and what can we sort of split and address later. So I think for me, I really like what transpired today. I disagree with the idea that we would be doing this IPAC, how do you say?
Live coverage?
Live coverage all the time.
It's not become a permanent feature.
I don't think it's a good idea because
you know what? I think that's a subject that I'll come to substantively.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's such a fundamental shift in the way IPAC has been conducted over the years that it needs to be looked at more critically. Because yesterday, not only you, even Suleiman Abrahama, when I asked the question, okay, should this become the norm? He says, no, you have to treat it more carefully. Yeah. So look at that. Yeah. So that's your initial reaction to what happened today. Let me bring in Bano Bio, who is the Director of Elections. He's joining me. Mr. Bano Bio, have you seen the NDC statement on the back of your presentation today? Please unmute for me if you're still on. Okay, we'll try and see if we can fix his audio very quickly. If you can unmute for me because we can't hear you. Okay, we'll get the Director of Elections. I can see him. Okay, yes. I was asking if you've seen it, the reaction from the NDC.
You know, I have not seen the reaction from the NDC.
Okay, but it is very conciliatory. Just let me sum it up for you. First of all, they have accepted your promise to release to the political parties the corrected and updated version of the 2022 provisional register for scrutiny within 1 week. And they also welcome your decision to re-exhibit the updated provisional voters register. That must fill you with some relief tonight, considering that this has been a very tense last few weeks.
Yeah, as a commission, we keep on saying that we do not have anything to hide. As we have indicated, getting a credible voters register alone gives you more than 60% of level of success towards ensuring very successful elections. And so from day one, we have been working towards ensuring a very clean voters register.
And I believe I may have...
Okay.
Sorry, please proceed. I lost you briefly.
Thank you. I said that we are in for a very credible voters register, because that alone is one of the stronger pillars for ensuring successful elections. And as I indicated earlier, if you have a credible voters register, you have topped more than 60% of the level of success when it comes to successful elections. And so from day one, the Electoral Commission has set itself up to ensure that we get a very credible voters register for the December 7th general elections. So we welcome any stakeholder who want to support us in this regard. And we're grateful, and we are still being grateful to the NCC for bringing this to the fore. And we have also gone through to work harder to ensure that all the anomalies detected are all resolved. As indicated by the chairperson, within the week or two, we shall provide them with the updated version of the PVR. And then any party can then go through and find out, put it into scrutiny to find out if there are anything missing. They will have to draw attention to it. Then we see what we could do from there.
Okay. And on that particular promise of re-exhibiting the register, the NDC, I know you have said that you want to re-exhibit it online, but they are also recommending that you also do this offline. What do you make of that?
Thank you very much. The Commission will take a look at that and then respond appropriately. In fact, we do not want to hide anything from anybody. We have gone to all the over 40 exhibition centers to exhibit. We were thinking about the time constraint and the difficulties in getting this done. The Commission will take a look at that and then come up with a final determination.
And on also the subject of the IT system, I mean, today, if you look at the presentation, your IT officer actually talks about some of the challenges that they have identified with the system that you're working to fix. NDC is demanding, and I'm using the words they use in this context, a multi-stakeholder and inter-party examination of the IT system of the Electoral Commission. And the aim there is to address the vulnerabilities that you yourself had identified may exist. Is this something that you find useful?
The IT director indicated that at the time that we were doing the transfers, the liveliness feature was not installed. But when that challenge came, the Commission has installed the liveliness check. And so that vulnerability is no longer there.
Yeah, but that's
going
one.
Forward,
yeah, please proceed.
Yeah. Going forward, nobody can use a picture or spoon to get such transfer done. That fix.
I may have lost him again there, but I want to bring in the network there isn't helping, but I need to get clarity around that because is that the only vulnerability the EC has that they believe they fixed? I'll get him to clarify. But Dr. Tanko is with me in the studio. Doc, he says on the first recommendation to have it offline, this is something that they would consider. The second, he was just answering that he believes that the recommendation is one that has already been addressed because, yes, I think he's back. You were landing on the subject of the vulnerabilities with the IT system.
Yes, I indicated that the liveliness check that was not there has been fixed. And so there's nothing like it being vulnerable again to such threats.
Beyond that, you haven't identified any other vulnerability with the IT system?
No, beyond that, what we indicated was that in the process of exporting the data, there could be data lost, and that is not a vulnerability. It can happen to any system because you use network to export data. In the course of network failure, such things will happen. And so that is not a vulnerability. What we need to do is to strengthen the network whenever such activities are going on.
Okay. Dr. Tanko?
Very well. Let me say good evening to your cherished viewers, and then Dr. Pomponi and yourself, and Dr. Barnaby. Let me put this one on record that
no, I've not got into the PhD.
I said, Mr. Barnaby, you're my friend. So, yes. Very well. You see, the Electoral Commission, they are not our enemies. No, certainly they are not. We are major stakeholders to the electoral process in Ghana. All that the NDC was doing was to help protect our democracy, to make sure that we have a free, fair, transparent election. And clearly, when you talk of free, fair, transparent, credible election, it's about credible register. Because the credible register will lead to free and fair elections. So that's what we're looking at. So clearly, when we got the PVR, our attention was to look at the whole structure of the PVR given to us, what was in there and all that. And today meeting, you see, Ghanaians must applaud the NDC for where we have reached as of now. One, we called for this live broadcast. It was through our initiative that we think that it's important we bring Ghanaians along. Let's civil society, everybody come on board. Let the Electoral Commission tell the whole world what they have done to the register and all that. Because we met them on 6th of September. We had discussions with them about some of the discrepancies that we saw. 5 thematic areas, we've discussed it here. And they said fine, they will look at it. And at that point, they took our hard drive and they were to give us a corrected version at that point. As we speak now, our hard drive is still with them. They haven't given us. And the point was that we wanted them to give us the hard drive, then we'll go and study it. I don't think we would have even gotten to this stage. Because we wanted to go and study what they had done, because they had made us to believe that they had done some corrections. And we look at it critically and say, look, the issue bordered on 2 things. One is about the register, and the other thing is about the IT system. It's like the IT system, something is wrong with it. It's like it's leaking. Your room, like the analogy my boss, Dr. Manibami, gave this afternoon at the IPAC meeting. Your roof is leaking badly and you are mopping. If you don't fix the leaking roof, you mop and water will still be dropping there. So the problem, as we see it, about the register, the discrepancy, clearly, yes, they said they were doing some work, they've done some work on it, they've corrected some of the anomalies, and the anomalies they were correcting were the anomalies we identified. If you look at it, where the anomalies we identified. So it wasn't like the Electoral Commission, by their own mechanism, identified those anomalies. Let's put it on record. If you look at all the IT director, when he was speaking to the NDC issues. If you look at, I have the thematic area, they said they were using as some of the problems they think they look at their level to solve the anomalies. Yes, missing voters, the voters who has their ID on it, but they are not on the PVR, voter placed in wrong polling station. All these descriptions that they gave out had nothing to do with transfers, illegal transfers. So it means their system could not identify anything about illegal transfers. The issue was not about the CI-91 as they copiously quoted throughout the discussion. The issue was about CI-127, where we talk about transfers. So you see, when you are talking about sanitizing the register, correcting the register, and you are referring to CI-91 as amended by 126, and you are mentioning Regulation 2324, that is a normal process in exhibition. But the issue is about an illegality that occurred using a window from Regulation 22 of CI-127. We talk about transfers.
To sum up, though, having heard the EC's presentation today, from your statement,
yes,
I believe you're largely satisfied with what you've heard. You're now waiting to now verify for yourself when they give you the...
Of course, that's why I'm saying that...
The latest provision.
Yes, that's why I'm saying that when...
But is that a fair characterization of your position now, that you're largely satisfied with what you heard today?
We will not describe it as largely satisfied. If you look at our statement, as we are saying, haven't admitted, the Electoral Commission, haven't admitted to all these discrepancies that we laid out in our statement. We thought that, fine, fair enough. It's gentleman agreement. Initially, they were running away from it. Everybody was distancing himself from it as if the NDC didn't have evidence. The NDC didn't have issues. But today, they agreed that there were illegal transfers. Yes, And because they didn't have liveliness tech, that's why it occurred. It means somebody somewhere sat and did it, using credentials that the person shouldn't have. And the vulnerability that we are talking of, see,
and you're now speaking to your latest demand.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The issue about the register, they said they've corrected it. We have largely accepted that we'll take the PVR from them. The refurbishment, I'll describe it as refurbish. Because now they've discarded the old one, the one that they exhibited across the country, and the one given to the political party stand discarded according to their presentation. And so they are now giving us a revised one. So invariably, it's like there wasn't exhibition. That is what they are not saying. Because then they've corrected.
I don't think that's what it is. Exhibition is to actually throw the problems out there for them to now fix it.
This is the first time the Ghana Electoral Commission is doing 2 exhibitions. It has never happened since 1992. I've been in the process. Exhibition is done once, and then from there we go for duplications, and then adjudication, and then the certified register comes out. But as we speak now, we are going to have another layer of exhibition.
Which is something you asked for,
yes,
which you've granted.
Of course, because of the enormity of the issues at stake.
Let's speak to your latest demand, this multi-stakeholder inter-party examination with the IT system. He says that vulnerability they talked about with the transfers, that has been fixed. They have identified and has been fixed.
Evans, I think he's belaboring the issue, and we must set it straightforward. When the IT director was talking, we asked him about the login credentials of officers who were given this passcode in order to do that. And then some startling revelation came out there. What was it? He said, yes, they create the login credentials, send it to the directors. But the director cannot change the login credentials. What does that tell you? That means the one who created it can still use it where he sits in Accra and do the transfers. So invariably, the Pusiga episode that you are talking of, it's possible that somebody somewhere, either in Kumasi or in Accra or in Wa, could have sat in his office, so long as he gets hold of the login credential, to do the manipulation.
Just hold on for me, and let's try and fix the sound, the challenge that we have there. But Doug, this latest demand, weigh in on it for me.
Yeah, so I think for me, and I think now it's clear that the issues were 2. And we've all come to the conclusion that the cleaning process under CI 91, as amended by 126, should continue. Once the new PVR is provided and everybody takes a look at it and there are any mistakes and all of that, we are now going to have this missing voter list and all of that. That process should continue. Now, the Pusiga one is what has brought this IT vulnerability issue now. From the presentation, what Dr. Ofori made clear was that the EC itself has asked its service provider to do a system assessment, basically to do a vulnerability test.
Across the country?
No, in a system.
Okay.
Because it's happening in
possibility that may happen elsewhere.
Exactly. Okay. To be sure that, and then whatever response that they should. Of course, the introduction of the liveliness test check is supposed to cure one problem, but it's to also make sure that the system is not vulnerable elsewhere, and that a report is supposed to come out. Now, what the NDC is asking is some sort of a multi-stakeholder engagement with the EC on this issue. What if this happens again down the line when the process is closed? And I was sitting there and I watched some of the engagement that was going on between the IT and the NDC. And I was thinking, really, this is the kind of engagement I would expect a committee or whatever, or a group of IT experts to engage in. I mean, most of the things they were talking about, some of us didn't understand.
In fact, there was one rep there who actually recommended that IT reps from those parties to come into a room.
And I think with the progress that we have made today, if the EC can just be proactive and to take that matter up and just invite, because I think it was the PPP also made
Yes, made that call.
A call like that. So those that are interested, maybe it's not everybody that's interested. And one of the other things I have to make is that I also was expecting that independent candidates, once they are candidates, should have been invited to this.
They were not invited? I
No,
mean, they invited civil society groups.
Yes, exactly. That's I was surprised.
was
I thought
surprised
that they should have been invited. I don't see the reason why they shouldn't be.
But if they turned them, nobody would have turned them away, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, nobody wants to disrespect, the rules. But they should have been invited. Anybody that's interested is going to participate in this election. The voter register is important to them. But I thought that now that we have made this progress, this matter should not drag on. Because the EC itself has made a point that it is doing its self-assessment. How this process sort of engages, and it doesn't have to be also a one-on-one, a separate meeting with the NDC or separate meeting with, like we have done today at IPAC, have that meeting
that should be the model.
With everybody that is interested, one meeting with the IT department, and have that conversation.
So you think that latest demand is a fair one?
Yeah, I think it's a fair one because assurances have to be given. It's not enough to say that yes, we've sorted it out. I think that it has to be demonstrated. People, you have to, as I said, some of the follow-up questions that were being asked. But that is a technical work that needs to be discussed by technical people who understand what they are talking about so that they get some satisfaction that, okay, these things that you have put in place are going to work.
It's actually the same principle as now giving the provisional register that has been addressed to the parties to verify.
Yes.
Because you've shown us that you've done it. Okay, now you're going to give it to them to verify.
Very much so.
So now the IT system, you said you fixed it too.
Yes.
So okay, now come and verify.
Yeah, sure. And,
it's the same principle.
And it might mean that it doesn't mean that you might go into the system or anything like that.
Them. I mean,
but even if you come and explain that, yes, I've taken this step and taken that step, somebody might query you that, okay, what did you use, this and that, and all of that.
And on the screen you can show.
But at least at the minimum, you have to start that conversation rather than it being, we can't have the meeting. I think, because the last time, I think the missing point was after the SIT meeting, the Electoral Commission was waiting for the NDC. The NDC says, we left we are waiting for, and we lost a lot of time. Yeah. Now we don't have time. So after this very beautiful step that we have taken, why doesn't the Electoral Commission just invite the group, bring the IT people here, sit there, and have that discussion?
Let me ask Tanko, what form do you want this examination to take?
Well, clearly, like Dr. Pupude just put it, we assess it. We assess their responses clearly, and then what worries us and baffled me, somebody who understands this field very well, was that I remember in 2017 when they came into office, STL was the one, they were handling our database and all that. And they had issues with STL because why should an external body be handling our data? And then so they part ways with STL and started their own thing. So we built our own data, had a new register altogether in 2020, remember? But Dr. Ofori made a startling revelation that they have vendors, that they want to talk to their vendors. So does it mean that another body is handling our data?
Software vendors, I believe.
Yes, of course. That is what we are talking about. Yeah. It's the same thing. The STL was handling the software. It wasn't only hardware. The way it also handled the software, because they had the login details of our documents and everything. And Electoral Commission could not enter into the data and do anything.
But you make the point, but the EC will definitely require a software to operate on.
Of course.
And so that software will have a vendor.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's what it means. It's not necessarily
so that means if another body.
Yes.
Of course, another body is also seeing whatever
but you can't do without that. I mean,
of course, that is what the STL was also doing. There was no possibility that STL could just sit down and do anything with the data without the knowledge of the Electoral Commission. It was like a two-way affair. So right now, yes, they said they want to talk to their vendors in terms of the reversals, because we asked of the illegal transfer. How? What was the algorithm that they use in terms of reversing those kind of
That question
transfers.
was asked by your other colleague.
Yes, and my other colleague.
But I'm interested in the form you want the examination
The form,
to take.
that is why we are saying that we want a multi-party like GSUs, and then we, the political parties, like our major opponent, they might have the capacity.
Something similar to today, or you want actual access to the software? Just clarify that.
Something similar like the IT group to go into the software to see the extent of the vulnerability,
Because
how they can close that.
Any organization will say you may raise vulnerability questions, further vulnerability questions, of giving access to external people to a software like that. It's a very sensitive matter.
No, I don't think it's a sensitive matter, because when he was talking about it, in terms of people getting access to the login credentials and then get into the access into the data and start manipulating it, it's a serious matter.
Yeah.
And then what we are saying is that, look, as to what extent can this one cause us during election time? Because right now we haven't reached the certified register stage. We are still in the professional register aspect. Now, at the time of coming out with the certified register, and something happens again, don't forget they're giving us the PVR. Everything is set in there. We are good to go. Then 2023 episode came. You remember when people went to vote during the district assembly election and they couldn't find their names. They were holding ID cards. Something happened. So at the point of printing or the point of coming out with the hard copies for the election itself, something could trigger again, and then we have this issue of people's names being displaced or people's names not being found in the register. And the rule is that on the election day, as soon as your name is not in the register, you cannot vote. You can even hold an ID card, authentic ID card. But since the name is not there, but the EC made mention of coming out with a new register known as missing voters list. We took issues with them because, one, it cannot be found in any of the CIs. You can't see any missing register.
But explain the challenge.
The challenge they have.
You said you can still vote, though, because it's biometrically verified.
No, but since your name is not in the data, it's not in the register. You remember when we talk of the missing names?
But remember what he said, though.
Yes.
These are people who have the voter's ID.
Yes.
But can't find a name in the register.
Yes.
But if
There's a way
if you can verify that person biometrically, you should still vote.
How do you verify somebody biometrically when the person's data is not captured by the BVD? That is one thing, because the BVD takes stock of the data in the polling station. So before they verify you, they would have scanned your QR code in the register. Then it pops out that you are the person, then put your finger on it. But here's the case, it's not there. Yeah. But you're holding an ID card. So that is the challenge we are seeing, that it means there's something wrong with the IT. This one is not about network exploitation. And so we should get it very clear there. And then so we are saying that, fair enough, we've seen it, about 1,500 of such names. We had 3,000. And in their response, their 9-page response to us on our petition, they sought to explain it that these 3,000, some of them can be found exception list, multiple register, or some in the transfer. And today, they indicate about 1,500 of such people just taken out from the register. And so they want to have another register owner. But you see, the multiple register, they know it, like we're having issue. That also created another pandemonium at that point, because the figure they raised at the multiple register, almost 26,000. It's unheard of, completely unheard of.
So I mean, I'll go to Banobio again on the back of what I've heard about the need for this IT examination. But fundamentally, Dr. Tanko, the original call was for a forensic audit, an independent forensic audit. Safe to say that as we speak tonight, on the back of what happened today, that demand is no longer on the table.
It is not that it's not on the table. We are saying that we are making progress.
Yes.
Okay.
So you no longer
and
want
then we are saying
on
that
the back of the evidence that you've been given today.
One, haven't admitted that, yes, you have issues.
Yeah.
We've also agreed that there are issues with our own register. And that we have taken
But the approach to solving it is no longer an external independent forensic audit.
That is why we are saying that we needed a multifaceted political
inter-party examination. So same stakeholders sitting with the EC to resolve it.
To resolve
that's what's important, because it's a significant departure from the past demand.
That is what
the EC says we are not going to allow an external body to come in. And I want to bring back in Banobio, and also have Evans Mensah joining me, by the way. I'll pick his thoughts on the NDC statement shortly. But Mr. Banobio, give me your quick thoughts again on this IT system examination. having heard the explanation from the EC, from the NDC and from CDD's Dr. Kojo Asante.
Thank you. Before that, I want to make some few clarifications.
Okay.
Electoral Commission sees the NDC as one of its critical stakeholders. It is not the Electoral Commission against the NDC. It is the Electoral Commission and the NDC and all the other political parties who are working towards ensuring very credible voters register. And when we see it in this line, then we will see the need for us to work together and to ensure that we arrive at what we are all looking for, that is the credible voters register. As a commission, we have done so much. In fact, this is since 2020, we have been using this four-pronged approach. Previously, it was only the voter going to the exhibition center to check the details. And then when there are some anomalies, then the voter will request for corrections. This time, apart from the voter, the exhibition officers were also tasked to go page by page and identify issues that need to be resolved. We have provided electronic version of the register at all our district offices. Our officers are there and they go through on their desktop any issue that needs to be resolved. They identify it for resolution. At the regional office, we have the same facility. Then ahead of it, we have a team that's working on such issues. And so what we have done, it is not the NDC who raised that issue that prompted us. When they came, we told them that yes, we have observed them and we are working to resolve them. As at the time they came, we have not even finished with the corrections from the district. The drive they gave us, we requested them to give us what they have so that we can add it to what we are correcting. We can check as to whether it has not been effected, then we'll effect them. Then they say in the evening they will then bring it to us. They gave us the drive that when we finish with ours, we give to them. And promised that in that evening, they will bring us DS for us to also work on that. That was the agreement. Having said that, the provisional voters register, as he claimed, is not going to be discarded. It has been corrected. The exhibition is an audit process of the PVR. And so when the corrections have been made, we do not discard it. So we are not discarding the register as he wants to say. Secondly, the second layer of exhibition that he's talking about, even if this meeting has not cropped, we still have been exhibiting the register after the close of the exhibition on the 27th. Because online, the USSD code *170*51# is there up to the date of election. And we have indicated that when we have finished with this PVR in terms of the corrections, we'll put it there for all and sundry to see, and copies shall be given to all the political parties. Now they are asking for, apart from the online, to do manual exhibition. And as I indicated, it is the commission, the management who can take that decision. So we will leave it for them. This will demonstrate to the whole public that we do not have anything to hide and that we are all for credible voters register. Yes, the vendor issue. For instance, this liveliness check, it was not the easy that developed it. You have to secure it from procure it from a vendor. So we cannot rule vendors out, like you already said. So we need to also take note of that.
And the IT examination, the inter-party examination of the IT system, as they propose it, just like you did today. It shouldn't be a problem,
yes.
Should it?
Let us provide them with the updated or corrected PVR. And if they have issue, they should let us know. And if the issue presented requires or demands such IT, whatever you think it is it
IT examination of the IT system, your IT system.
Examination of the IT system is required, the commission will avail herself to it.
Okay.
But as a commission, we have resolved all identified issues, and we don't think they will have anything to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, but that is different from the IT infrastructure, though. I mean, they first of all, they are largely happy with the work you're doing to try and deal with the issues in the register, but they also now want to be reassured when it comes to the IT infrastructure. That's why they're asking for the examination.
Let me come in here. The IT infrastructure, what does we use it for? We use it to compile the voters. Compilation, generation, and then get the print. After the register issues are over, we are not going to use the IT system for anything, because results are collated manually. Results are submitted manually. And so trying to review the IT system, you need to know the purpose for which you want to do that. But however, I must put it in public that we have nothing to hide.
Okay.
And the commission is ever ready to ensure transparency at all levels of its operations.
Okay.
But please let us all understand that nobody is against the Electoral Commission. We are all our critical stakeholders. So they should see us as partners, not as enemies. We want to ensure that we have credible voters register. We want to ensure that we have very successful elections. And I think that is the aspiration of all the political parties. So if the commission is for that, then it's easier. Let us all team up and ensure that the right thing is done at all levels.
Let me bring in Evans Mensah as the Director of Elections for the MPP. Mr. Mensah, do you accept and welcome the NDC's demand tonight that the IT system itself should be subject to an inter-party and multi-stakeholder examination?
Well, Evans, thank you for having me. Good evening to Dr. Asante and Dr. Computer and to viewers. I think that the NDC must not be talking too much. They must stop changing the goalpost. What we've heard today is not an engagement between only NDC and MPP. The media were there. I mean, the issue, if really has to do with the forensic audit, their major issue was the voter register. Now they are extending it to the IT infrastructure. And we have to tread cautiously. What is it that they want in the IT infrastructure that they now want their IT teams to sit with EC to go into the system? We have to tread cautiously. I think for us as New Patriotic Party, when we had the register, we broke it down to polling station levels and we sent them across and raised our concerns at that level. In fact, General Secretary had written to the EC for an official engagement to discuss our concerns. And I don't know whether you've heard of the situation in Mensah South, where the court ruled that some numbers that had been transferred should be transferred back to their original polling stations. So these are some of the issues. It will have to take stakeholders to ensure that we have a very clean register for elections. And so the call for it is not out of place, but they keep on changing the post to the extent that today, after the presentation, the NDC is still making the point that some youth numbers have been transferred illegally. I don't know where it's coming from. When we were presented that there were 1,551 of voters who had their ID cards, but their data is not in the PVR. In which case, the easy is that we have your Form A and Form C. We know their polling stations. We have their contact numbers. We've tried to reach out to them. If you are not able to do that, on election day, we'll make available the missing voter list so that that particular polling station, in an event that Evans Mensah is on that list, not only will you be on that list, but there are supporting documents, your Form 1A and Form 1C, to let all the parties know that these are the people on this list, because we could not get them to come back to re-register, so they will be on the main register. NDC still disagrees. And so for us, that is their strategy. We think that what we've heard today, what we've been told today, we are ready and still working towards reaching out to the voters. We still made the call and insisted that the EC should make available to us the revised provisional voter register, so that we continue to examine them and
which is the same position the NDC has put out today. And very quickly, before I wrap up though, give me your thoughts on the announcement today by the chairperson that all IPAC meetings going forward will be subject to live television coverage. Is this something that you support?
Yes, I think it will be of great help. I mean, it opens up the discussion and it's brought to life by you, the media, because sometimes when we leave IPAC, it appears there are different narratives, and this doesn't help our discourse. So to have your presence in these meetings, to let the world know exactly live telecast of discussion, so we know where we are. I don't think anybody should have any issue with this arrangement put in place.
Dr. Mensah, you had raised a few questions about that.
Yeah, I was just saying that I don't think all IPAC, I think it should be specialized, because I think sometimes IPAC actually needs that quietness, because some of the deliberations, it doesn't need to be in the public, public gallery, because these are politicians. You get the grandstanding and all of that stuff, where sometimes people just need to work. They need to just deliberate and work, among themselves. And I think if you open it up all the time, you're just going to get, a lot of performance, and you won't get substance from IPAC meetings. So I think that, yes, a very important platform like today, yes, open it up, but don't make it almost like determinant that every IPAC meeting you should have it open up like this. You should just determine as and when an important issue is going to be discussed, open up IPAC, but don't make it routine.
I mean, Dr. Tanko, you asked for this, so really you set the tone, and the EC has extended it to every IPAC meeting. Where do you stand on that? Yeah,
well, I think I agree with that session, the Electoral Commission. Why not? For transparency.
Okay.
From now up to election day, we should have live broadcast in everything the Electoral Commission is doing, including...
But the position she announces beyond elections, the IPAC meeting standard, live coverage.
It should be. Why should... Because, look, why should we keep out the media from it? Like this discussion we are having, if they had allowed live broadcast of our 6th September meeting, I don't think we would have gotten to this stage. That was a glorious opportunity for them, and they blew it off. Today, if they hadn't accepted this, you and I would have known how things would have played out. Right. Of course. So you see that it has calmed nerves. The whole country was glued to their TVs, watching us, going through all this, just to be sure that, yes, the EC has agreed, they have admitted there are errors here, we've corrected that and all that. You see, it will bring back that kind of integrity that they nearly lost out along the line. We just want Ghanaians to believe in the system. That is why we are doing all this. Okay. I thought we would have kept it to ourselves, and then who knows what we would have been thinking towards the December 7th. But we think that with this procedure that we have adopted with the Electoral Commission, look, they should also do a soul session. I mean, they should go back and look at themselves. That look clearly, this political party actually is assisting us.
In fact, that's what Banobio said.
Yes, we are. That's why I'm saying that we are not antagonizing them at all. They are not our enemies. We are major stakeholders. Whatever we see is to assist them, because our development partners were seated there. Imagine we hadn't seen this, and we go into an election, a register that has an old data of almost 200 and something thousand on it, and illegal transfer being on this register. What picture are we printing to the whole world? That is what we're saying, that we are helping them, trying to engender the transparency, free and fair that we are all looking for. And then to cap it, there is something that was missing. Because when they mentioned the total registered voters, they didn't mention the total polling stations to be used.
Just for this year?
For this year.
Okay.
Because that is a missing link.
Okay. I'm sure
very,
that
important.
information will be provided.
Yes,
thank you, Dr.
one.
Tanko. Thank you, Dr. Kojo Asante, and the EC's Director of Elections and Evans Mensah. Enjoy the rest of your evening.